Hey everyone, welcome back to today's Explainer. Today we're jumping right into a botanical street corner mystery. Have you ever walked past a random weed sprouting up through a sidewalk crack and thought, oh hey, I know exactly what that is? Well, you might actually want to second guess yourself after this one. We're unraveling a fascinating and honestly potentially perilous case of mistaken identity in the wild. We're looking at a plant that is an absolute master of deception.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our source material today is a really fantastic, highly observant blog called Notes on Gardening, written by Ang. Now, the number 888 is actually pretty important here. This particular post from May 2026 is entry number 888 in their gardening series. I mean, that implies some serious experience, right? This isn't someone who just picked up a trowel yesterday. This is a deeply observant gardener who has documented nearly 900 encounters, experiments, and observations with plants. And yet, even with all that deep knowledge, this specific plant managed to throw them for a complete loop. It really just goes to show you that in the world of botany, there is always something new, and sometimes incredibly misleading, waiting right around the corner.
I absolutely love how this begins. Ang opens the post with, "Dear Interweb." It instantly establishes this wonderfully intimate diary-like tone. We're essentially reading a personal anecdote, a real-time discovery shared from one plant enthusiast to the rest of us. It feels like a continuation of a previous thought, picking up right where a casual neighborhood stroll left off. By sharing this story, Ang is inviting us along on their daily walk, turning a really simple observation into a vital cautionary tale for anyone who likes to forage or identify local flora.
So, let's retrace exactly how this botanical trap was sprung. Initially, just passing by this plant, the very first visual cue was the leaf shape, and it looked incredibly familiar, practically screaming vegetable garden. But then, a little time passes, and the plant starts fruiting. It produces these small, perfectly round, highly glossy berries that look honestly lush and juicy. The anomaly, though, is the color. As these berries mature, they turn this rich, deep purple, which is a dead giveaway that something is totally off. It's this perfect sequence of visual clues that leads your brain down one path, only to throw up a massive roadblock right at the very end.
I want you to put yourself right there in Ang's shoes for a second. Just imagine you're walking down your street, you see this plant, and your brain immediately starts trying to categorize it based on your own gardening knowledge. The leaves look exactly like a pepper plant, so naturally you think, a stray chili plant. But then the fruits appear and they don't look like chilies at all. They look exactly like tiny, glossy tomatoes. But wait a minute, tomatoes don't usually come in this specific shade of deep, dark purple, right? Your brain is trying to solve a puzzle where the pieces belong to entirely different boxes. It's kind of like finding a pizza slice growing on an apple tree. It's a thrilling little moment of suspense. What exactly has decided to take root on this corner? And this brilliantly illustrates the conflicting signals nature can throw at us. On one side, we have the vegetative growth. To an experienced gardener like Ang, those leaves strongly suggest a chili plant. But then look at the fruiting side. Those small, round, glossy berries are doing an absolutely perfect impression of a cherry tomato. The plant is basically caught in an identity crisis, wearing the foliage of one garden staple and the fruit of another. It's a masterclass in why you can never rely on just a single characteristic when identifying a plant in the wild. You really have to read the whole story.
Well, after carefully weighing all the evidence, Ang cracks the case. This mysterious street corner plant is Black Nightshade, or solanum-nigrum. And if you're in the region Ang is writing from, you might actually know it locally as Tarung Maranti. Now it makes total sense why it looked like a tomato and a pepper. They're actually all in the exact same botanical family, the Solanaceae. It's a family that includes pizza sauce, French fries, and, you guessed it, deadly poison. While tomatoes and chilies are the friendly edible cousins we gladly invite into our kitchens, Black Nightshade is that untamed relative that comes with a serious set of ground rules.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the dangerous paradox between how tempting this plant looks versus the stark reality. On one hand, Ang notes it has a history in traditional medicine, uses in certain very specific cuisines, and of course, those incredibly glossy, edible-looking berries. It literally practically begs you to harvest it. But the stark reality? Ang's research reveals the hard truth: the entire plant is toxic. The gap between how appealing this plant looks and its historical lore versus its actual severe toxicity is where the danger truly lies. It's essentially a botanical siren song.
So the crucial point is absolutely unambiguous, strictly not for consumption. Regardless of how juicy those purple berries look, regardless of the fact that its harmless cousins are sitting in your salad bowl right now, and regardless of whatever folklore or traditional uses you might stumble upon online, Akin is crystal clear here. The high level of toxicity present throughout the entire plant makes it far too risky for any casual forager or curious gardener to experiment with. This isn't a maybe or a cook it a certain way kind of warning. It is a hard, absolute stop sign derived straight from Akin's botanical detective work.
Let's move to and see how this builds to Ang's final verdict. I think this quote perfectly encapsulates the mindset we should all adopt. Ang writes, quote, "Treat it as an ornamental plant and never as an edible vegetable." It's a really beautiful reframing. We don't have to destroy it and we don't have to fear it, but we absolutely must respect what it is. By shifting our perspective, we can still appreciate the deceptive beauty of the black nightshade. We can admire the lush leaves and the vibrant purple berries as a visual, aesthetic piece of wild nature while keeping it strictly off our dinner plates. It's really all about setting healthy boundaries with the flora around us.
Which brings us to the end of today's explainer, and I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Ang's journey in entry 888 reminds us that the natural world is complex, beautiful, and sometimes heavily disguised. If an expert gardener can be momentarily fooled by the black nightshade masquerading as a tomato or a chili plant, it really makes you wonder what other deceptive beauties are growing right now around your street corner. The next time you take a walk, look a little closer at the weeds and wildflowers. Be curious, observe carefully, but above all, be safe and remember that in nature, looks can most certainly be deceiving. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.